Why Germany is betting big on India. Is it trying to redefine its global strategy, or it is about global presence? What are the consequences for India and what India is set to gain from this partnership? Europe is entering the Indo-Pacific and Germany is leading that way for Europe. And in 2026, the entry point for Europe here is India. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh and today we are going to understand how Germany has decided their partner of choice will be India. What are the reasons behind it? What are the global factors which are shaping this choice? And what is the historical background between India-Germany relations? So beginning with understanding the starting point of this conversation, where we have seen the visit of the new German Chancellor, that is Friedrich Merz, who has come to India, and this is his first visit as soon as he entered his term to Asia. Now when we are talking about this huge continent, there are other options as well. There is China, there is Japan, and considering the other alternatives, India and this particular visit by the German Chancellor makes it a strategic prioritization on their end, that the reason that they have chosen India is that they assume that their partnership with India will be a turning point in the global map itself. And this gives a strategic shift from Europe's end, because Germany, one of the biggest economies across the world and the biggest one in European Union itself, is directing in a direction that is towards India, that means Europe is also turning this way. And this becomes very important from the inside of the global view, because if you look at the global scenario as of now, you will clearly see that there are multiple events that have Europe gripped up tight. For example, we have Russia-Ukraine war, which is ongoing, and this is not first, second, rather it has been more than 3 years as of now. And because of this, Europe's security has been in question for a while now. Apart from that, another added angle coming from US being very much interested in Greenland, and Greenland, which is under Denmark, which is another founding member of NATO, that also brings in NATO in a questionable position. So the security that Europe was enjoying under the umbrella organization of NATO, that has gone away. Now, to add to the chaos that the globe is seeing, there is Gaza conflict, there is Indo-Pacific tensions, be it China asserting pressure to gain in Taiwan. Then we have weaponization of supply chains, energy and raw material, which is being headed by Europe's very own ally, US, and US not shying away from putting tariffs, where it has just announced that 25% tariff on any partner country trading with Iran. So here we get to see Europe is trying to figure out where they are in the whole global map, and they are trying to restructure, realign not just their security but all their other alliances as well. So this is not about just that it has happened for India. The directions, the positioning of Europe towards India in this given situation clearly highlights that when we are talking about partner of choice, Germany, which the label that Germany has given for India, comes under given circumstances, comes under presence of alternatives, and India has shown out that it has the potential to deliver as a partner in here. And that is why it becomes important to understand that what is the scope of this partnership in coming terms, how has been the historical background of this relationship, and everything around it. So when we are talking about this partnership itself, as of now, this very meeting, this very visit by Friedrich Merz marks it an important milestone here, because we get to see that there have been several key announcements that how their partnership is going to expand and in what areas cooperation is going to be multifolds in the coming time. Starting with the first thing that has been finalized is from the angle of defense and security. There has been a joint declaration of intent for defense industrial cooperation. Now, here the focus is not just on co-development but also co-production and technology partnerships. Now, when we are looking at this, we get to see that yes, Germany has the intent to make sure that India reduces its reliance on Russian partnerships, but at the same time, India has been very clear in this cooperation that we have the strategic autonomy. Whatever defense sourcing we will be doing, that will be based on national interest and not at all any ideological drivers present there. But in this context, this comes as an advantage because this will not only support the idea of Make in India, but also the technological advancement that we can gain from this very partnership. Furthermore, there has been establishment of Track 1.5 policy and a separate bilateral dialogue for security between two countries, which marks another high point when we are talking from the defense and security angle. Other than that, we are also seeing that there have been announcements related to economy and trade. There is assumption that bilateral trade is going to cross $50 billion, which is going to be an all-time high between the two countries. Germany has also pushed for fast-tracking India-EU FTA, which has been pending since 2017. Germany being the largest economy in the European Union, if Germany sits and positions India, then this FTA does not seem that far-fetched. And other than that, we also have more than 2,000 German companies which are already operating in India, and they will be further facilitated. Apart from that, we also have multiple key announcements around mobility, education. For example, we have visa-free transit for Indian transport holders who are traveling through Germany. That means if anybody is traveling to another country and the transit is via Germany, they do not need a transit visa, which facilitates the mobility. Other than that, there will be a creation of Indo-German roadmap, especially for higher education. There has been announcements about technology and trade, where work plan for India-Germany digital dialogue has been laid out, and there has been declaration of intent not just for defense but also economic cooperation through German-Indian CEO forum that has been talked about. So we get to see that the cooperation that we are talking about, it is not limited to one particular sector. We are having multi-sectoral cooperation, and the highlight here that is coming through is through the renewable energy that we are getting to see through. So when we are talking about the cooperation in terms of renewable energy, we are getting to see Germany has promised 1.24 billion euros for green and sustainable development partnership, where we will be seeing not just cooperation in terms of technology, but cooperation in renewable energy, where we have green hydrogen, semiconductors and renewables right on the table. When we are talking about the key announcements that have been made in this Ahmedabad visit, this is not something that has come upon a surprise, because Germany and India have had a historical evolution in terms of their relationship, and this partnership even goes before the modern diplomacy came into place. For example, when we are talking about linkages, we see early intellectual as well as cultural linkages back from 19th century and also before, where German Indologists have played a very important role in studying Sanskrit and also Indian philosophy. We have seen translations of Upanishads and Vedas which have introduced the Indian thought to Europe. But when we are talking about modern diplomacy, we get to see that the proper embarkment happened after World War II. So World War II, India was one of the first countries to give official recognition to Germany, and that is where the diplomatic relations started. Now this prominence came in with when India was one of the first countries which ended the state of war label with Germany. Initial consulate embassy was established in Mumbai in 1951, then later it was established in New Delhi in 1952. Then soon after, there was an ideological difference that emerged because of the Cold War phase that we saw, and both of the countries on different sides, because USSR has been always an ally for India and Germany ended up in NATO on the other fold. So the ideological difference, and then Germany condemning the freedom that we saw, freedom of the rule from Portuguese in Goa in 1961, all of this remained in terms of ideological difference, and that was the reason that we got to see that there was no cooperation beyond mere trade. Another thing that we saw in 1971 and 72, that when India intervened in Bangladesh Liberation War, Germany was very critical of India back then. But after the Cold War reset, especially after the 1990s, we saw a switch, a flip, because of the ideological difference lapsed, because there were no two superpowers to subside with, and that is where we see some growth in terms of, real growth in terms of relationship. Now 90s came in, and that's where we got to see German reunification. We also understand here that India maintained its ties with East Germany and West Germany both. And even after this, there were certain setbacks when Germany condemned India's 1998 nuclear tests. However, even in this duration, we had only limited trade and some cultural exchanges. But apart from that, there was limited or shallow any sort of defense engagement or power engagement, if we can talk about. Then comes 2000s, and that is where gradually India is seen as an emerging market, not just by Europe but Germany in specific here as well. India gets the recognition, and India is finally viewed as a manufacturing and also a technological partner. And that is what laid the foundation for the 2001 establishment of strategic partnership, the first naval exercise between India and Germany in 2008. Can you tell me in the comment section what was the name of that naval exercise? And then gradually we get to see the build-up beyond trade. It goes to defense, it goes to technological advancement, and now the announcements that have been made, they are the culmination of this historical background, which we get to see in terms of the highest point of cooperation, diplomacy between India and Germany. Now on this note, it becomes very important for us to also understand that why we get to see this deepening of ties as of now. We are getting to see the deepening of this tie because of economic and industrial cooperation over the years. Germany has become India's largest trading partner in Europe. We have more than 1600 plus collaborations. We have 600 plus joint ventures, and we also have a very strong German Mittelstand presence in India. So when we are talking about German Mittelstand, it basically refers to the highly specialized, family-owned, made in Germany SMEs that have grown out to be global brands today. For example, with that you get to see Volkswagen, you get to see Skoda. All of this is an example of German Mittelstand, basically the German SMEs which have become highly specialized, globalized, and have turned into a brand. So this presence has marked the strategic deepening. We have other factors as well, such as the climate and energy leadership, where we see India and Germany coming together. For example, the Indo-German Climate and Renewable Alliance established back in 2015. Now, there was cooperation not just for solar and renewables, but green energy corridor and also river Ganga rejuvenation. Furthermore, the alignment here is not just bilateral. The alignment here, you have to understand that how it extends into multilateral scopes, because Germany has the joint support for UNSC reform under G4. That is Brazil, Germany, India and Japan seeking to reform that how the UN Security Council works. And the coordination between India and Germany is not limited to G4. It is present across multilateral organizations such as G20, UN and also export control regimes. Now, when we have understood the multitude, that how the relationship has evolved, the partnership has evolved, and what has deepened it over time, now let us move to understand that why both of these countries matter so much for each other. Even though if you have clearly understood during the historical evolution of the partnership that it was not a linear upward moving partnership that we have seen, it had its own set of setbacks. And in this context, it becomes very important to understand that how come Germany matters for India and also how India matters for Germany. In this very context, the first thing is that Europe's largest economy if you look at the numbers, you get to clearly see that Germany, not just within European Union but also Europe, stands as the largest economy. So once the doors are open for the Germany, this becomes an entry point for us also into Europe. Furthermore, Germany is not only the largest economy but the industrial engine of the Europe, and in this context, India will also get an entry to the European supply chains. Furthermore, in terms of technology, we have advanced defense and industrial technology from the Germany's end, where we get to see precision engineering, be it for submarines, propulsion systems, and the dual use technology here can be a game changer for Atmanirbhar Bharat that we are aiming for. The next factor at our hand is the fact, as I said, it is the entry point to European Union, not just in terms of supply chain, but also the India-EU FTA, which is stuck up in negotiations. If we talk about the India-Germany trade, it makes up 1/4 of trade with European Union. So Germany stands as the main driver when we are talking about India-EU FTA and if it is to be finalized. And we cannot let go of the multilateral and strategic support that we can reap from Germany in form of G4, which is seeking reforms in UNSC, in form of partnerships that we can see in coming times for the Indo-Pacific region, and also multilateral organizations such as G20. We have UN-based organizations which are looking for leaders because of the vacuum that has been created by US exit. Now, in this context, as I said, it is important for us to understand why Germany matters for India, but it is also very important to understand why India matters for Germany. When the newly come German Chancellor is visiting Asia, as I said, the pit stop could have been any country. But India, and marking it as a partner of choice and clarity, this shows that the understanding that India is one of the fastest growing economy is not something that India is boasting about. This is something that is clearly understood as well. Furthermore, Germany clearly recognizes the demographic advantage that India holds in terms of population, in terms of skilling, and the work that service sector that is doing in this particular area. And apart from that, India remains as a main stakeholder, especially when we are talking about the Indo-Pacific region itself, and it has served as a strategic anchor. This has not been denied by US, this has not been denied by Japan, be it Australia, in form of Quad, and European Union and now Germany is also understanding that and making it a round. But all of this is not that easy. There are certain challenges around it, such as if we are talking about deepened cooperation, there is no possibility of bilateral free trade agreement between India and Germany because Germany is under European Union and that can be negotiated only via European Union. So the real chance we have at it is the India-EU FTA. And the slow progress on India-EU FTA has been a dampener, especially since 2007. Apart from that, we also get to see there will be certain defense specific issues because the German defense platforms are high in terms of cost and they also have strict export control regulations and they have end use restrictions. That means even if you export, the kind of usage you will be making of technology, that will be restricted. And most importantly, where we have seen the most setbacks in terms of this diplomatic relationship, which is the political and normative difference. We have seen difference over human rights discourse, we have seen difference over internal political issues, and we have also seen differences over how India wants to maintain its strategic autonomy. So to navigate all of this and still come through, that will be a real winner for the India-Germany bilateral partnership that we might get to see in coming times. Now on this note, I would like to leave you with a question. What do you think can be the way forward for India and Germany in this particular context? Let me give you a hint. If you are trying to address the challenges, they might be able to give you a direction in which to go ahead. Now that was all from my side. Let me know your answers in the comment section. Thank you so much.